Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats of all ages, I welcome you to this presentation, which has not started yet. It hasn't started yet because it's not very good. By the way, if you're not charitable or if mathematically inclined, run away. This is going to be a very, very technical, very, very boring, very, very ethereal. Did you eat your cereal yet? No, I said ethereal. No, this presentation only gets worse, and I'm talking liver worse, not even other kinds of worse. Joey, anything to add here? I think I've properly warned the audience.
I'd just like to chime in and say I had some bratwurst yesterday, and it was a very good dinner.
Oh, did you have mustard with it?
Of course.
Do you like the Mean Mr. Mustard song from the the Abbey Road album?
Yeah.
He sleeps in the park. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. I've got bad news for you. The program will now begin. Okay, this is Alan Gassman, and for those of you who don't like the puppet, oh, wouldn't you like the puppet? The only reason we do the puppet is for those of you who do like the puppet. Thank you. All right. See, his head turns. Anyway, I am here today with a new tax superstar, Joey Klein. There he is. That's what he looks like when he gets dressed up, even better than he looks now. And we are going to talk about charitable lead annuity trusts. So if you came in through CPA Academy, you're going to get a full 1 credit as a CPA or an enrolled agent. If you came in through our website, you can email us if you're a Florida lawyer, and we will get you credit as a Florida lawyer. If you have questions, just forget it. We're not going to answer your questions. Now, actually, if you have a question, click on the inverted, upside down, inside out pyramid and type in your question, and we will pretend to know the answer. And thank you, Herbert, for loving the puppet. One of my favorite science fiction writers had the last name Herbert. Maybe he's watching. Okay, if you have not read the Barbie report and you would like a copy of the Barbie report, including Barbie's last will and testament, please email us with the word Barbie, B-A-R-B-I-E, and we will send you the Barbie report. All right. So today we will shamelessly promote EstateView software, which I hope will be on the market, and you might actually have to pay for it in January. But until then, we don't have to know who you are, where you are, or more importantly, why you are. You can just go to the website, put estateview.link, L-I-N-K, like the link of sausage that Joey ate yesterday for breakfast, and then put test@test.com. That is your email address, and your password. Now, this is top secret. Please don't tell anyone. Test, T-E-S-T, lowercase. Click login, and you will be on EstateView at that time, whether you want it to be or not. It works on Apple, iPad, even on your phone. Okay. As you see behind me, and as you see on the screen, in loving memory of Sid Cass, without a doubt, according to many, did more for the continuing education of certified public accountants and financial professionals than any other person who ever walked the earth. And I was very, very lucky to talk to Sid at least 50 times. And what I really liked about Sid is he would call me and he'd go, Alan, your outline was late, and it's less likely that you will be invited to speak in the future because of that. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, but thanks for letting me know. Sid always let you know what he thought needed to be done to improve continuing education. Sid always cared deeply about continuing education and about certified public accountants. So if you would like to put something on Sid's memory board, send us an email. We'll be glad to post it. We lost Sid, but we got Joey. So Joey is working for our law firm. He's a third-year law student at Stetson Law School, and he, fortunately for us, had been a registered broker at Morgan Stanley and a computer science major. Very, very bright. Joey, are you going to get your master's degree in tax law, you think?
Yeah, that's my goal. Right now, I'm looking at a couple different LLM programs and starting that application process, and then hopefully going on to advise clients on their business tax needs.
Beautiful. Okay, so Joey, take it away.
Sure. So today we're going to talk about charitable lead annuity trusts, also known as CLATs. To form a CLAT, the donor will just reach out to a trust lawyer who can create that trust agreement for them and then fund it with some assets. During the CLAT term, the charity of their choice will receive annual payments from the annuity. That's why we call it an annuity trust. And then in the last year, whatever's left over will go to the kids or other beneficiaries that the donor sets up. So the charitable refers to the beneficiary of it. The lead refers to how the starting payments throughout the first years are leading to the charity, as opposed to a charitable remainder trust, which instead the remainder of the trust value at the end of the term goes to the charity. So this one gives charity a little more cash flow, and then it still benefits the charity while getting assets out of the donor's estate and allows it to pass estate and gift tax free to their kids. So if we go to the next slide here, we have some use cases for a CLAT. So again, it avoids that estate tax, and it's really for donors that are charitably motivated or donors that are making annual charitable donations. It helps them make sure they get that income tax deduction up front and then continue to support their charity over the life of the trust. This is a good place to store high growth assets because, again, all of the assets that end up at the end of the trust term in the account end up going to your beneficiaries without having to pay estate tax. So it's a way to get high growing assets out of your estate. And then one point, unfortunately, we're not in a low interest rate environment anymore, but with about a 5% rate, we're somewhere around there now, I believe, Alan. That's still pretty achievable for a lot of investments. So to set up a CLAT, there's a couple steps that we're going to walk through today. The first one is to establish the trust. And then once you establish the trust and pick, what charity you're going to benefit, who's going to be in charge of making sure those payments go out each year, and things like that, you're going to fund the CLAT with whatever assets you want. And then throughout the term of the CLAT, it'll continue making those annual payments to the charity you choose. And you can even choose backup charities in case the original beneficiary loses its status. So that's a good thing to note there. And then finally, you have that final payment from the CLAT where it'll make one last payment to the charity, and then the remainder will go to your beneficiaries.
Okay, so let me go ahead and interrupt here, being the terrible host that I am. The most common CLAT, I would think, used 98% of the time by knowledgeable planners, is the zeroed out CLAT. And the term of the CLAT is usually, by my experience, between 10 and 30 years. So you take the 75/20 rate and you set the CLAT payments so that the present value of the CLAT payments to charity is 100%. So it assumes that the CLAT will earn the 75/20 rate, which right now is about 5.4%, and that being able to earn the 75/20 rate, it will just be able to make these payments to charity, and there will be nothing left for the remainder people. And the remainder people can be your spouse for life, and then your descendants, or any one you like, anything you like. So for example, if I want to do a 20-year zeroed out CLAT, and I put $2 million in that CLAT, and my computer tells me, well, if you make payments of $56,400 a year for those 30 years, the present value is 100% of those payments. So now anything in that CLAT at the end of that 30th year is going to pass estate tax free. And the good news is that using certain kinds of CLAT payment terms, using discounts and using assets that will hopefully grow in value higher than the 5.4% 75/20 rate, you'll have a lot left over for your descendants without any gift exemption being used whatsoever. Joey, did I miss anything there, or does that help?
Yeah, that helps sums it up with a nice example there.
Well, you're supposed to say, that's fantastic. Wow.
That is
I don't
fantastic,
even
Alan.
need to say anything the rest of the presentation. That just covers it all. Thank you. Actually, let's go to your next page. Go ahead. I'll shut up for a little while.
Sure. So the trust here can be established both during the grantor's life or after through a will or other testamentary document. If it's established during the grantor's life, we call that a grantor CLAT, and that is something that allows you to not affect the gift tax exemption for the grantor's lifetime, but still move those assets outside their estate. You also get an immediate income tax deduction for the present value of the payments to the charity over the life of the trust. Now, if the grantor does die during the trust term, that deduction is subject to being recaptured. So that's an important point. When you're choosing how long the CLAT should last, you want to take a look at the mortality tables and the life expectancy of the grantor and make sure you feel pretty comfortable that they're going to outlive the CLAT. That way you don't have to pay back that deduction you took in the first year. Now, the con of establishing a grantor CLAT is that the grantor is responsible for income tax on the trust, and they aren't able to take money out of the trust to pay that. So that's something that they have to have other income they're willing to spend to pay the tax on any income earned within the trust. On the other hand, for a testamentary CLAT, that's going to be one that's set up upon the death of the grantor. And so the donor provides that this trust is funded through one of their testamentary documents like a will or another trust, and the trust will pay income tax on its own income. So that's a easier way to handle the income. However, that does typically require another form. And then the con there is that no charitable income tax deduction is allowed for the funding assets in the first year. So you don't get that big deduction up front, but you still get the money outside your estate without using that gift tax exemption. Alan, did I miss anything there you want to mention about grantor status?
No, but I'm going to go ahead and go to the Estate View software now and show a summary, because I'm sure a lot of people have been left behind here because it's not easy to really understand all of these concepts. So I opened the Estate View software and I went to calculators. And then when I got to calculators, I clicked on CLAT. And the computer tells me we're going to use the lowest of the 75/20 rate this month or the prior 2 months. You can do that with a CLAT. So the computer knows that the 75/20 rate that we can use is 5%. The computer knows that the grantor is 64 years old, although it doesn't make any difference how old the grantor is. It may help you with the illustration for the client, but with a CLAT, it's based on the term of years. It's not based on the age of a person, the way a charitable remainder trust can work. So the computer informationally is telling me that the life expectancy of a 64-year-old, and by the way, I'm 64. My life expectancy is 19.8 years that my staff has to continue to put up with me. And my next pet could be a tortoise or a parrot, and they would outlive me. Then the term of the CLAT, we'll just start with 10 years. And for purposes of illustration, will let me live to age 84, and we'll illustrate 20 years. Now, the payment technique I'm going to show you initially is just a level annual payment, and I selected level there. You see I have three choices. I can go level, I can go increasing by any percentage I choose. Most people would choose 20%, we'll tell you why later. Or I could go what we call shark fin. And when I click shark fin, that means the first payments are very small, but then the payments get very big at the end, and it's like a shark fin. So watch this. When I click shark fin, you see the shark fin? Yeah. I mean, that's by the way, that's the best part of this program. So other than the polling questions, you could leave now. But I'll go back to level payments. Okay. And then the next thing is, how much gift do I want to make? So most of us go with 0 gift, but some people think that it's a good idea to leave a little bit of something on the table. So they may go with a 1% gift. And what are my assets going to grow at? We can say 7%, we could say 7.5%. What's my income tax rate? Well, most of us are in federal only jurisdictions where we're at 37%. Okay, so now what does this line across tell me? It tells me I'm doing a CLAT. It's the first CLAT I'm showing. It tells me that it's a 10-year CLAT. Grantor's age is 64, reminding me how old I am. My life expectancy, 19.8 years that Marcia has to put up with me. Year of death, 20 years. We're going to illustrate 20 years. The payment is level, and we're going to say that I do this during my lifetime. It is a grantor CLAT. The discount rate, 0. I'm just going to put a flat $1 million worth of stocks into this. 75/20 rate, 5%. Reportable gift value, $10,000 just about. It's almost zeroed out. First year and every year annuity amount, $128,210. And this is what you pay the software companies to do. You put in the term of the CLAT and the amount that you put in, and the software company tells you the annuity amount, $128,000 for 10 years, total charitable payments 10 times that. And then if you go down to this spreadsheet, the spreadsheet is showing you what we're doing here, and I can expand the spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet is showing you that in the first 10 years, you start at $1 million. The growth is 7.5%. The annuity takes out 128,000. And at the end of the 10th year, there is $247,000 going into the remainder trust, which can then be held for descendants, spouse, etc. And if that continues to cook for another 10 years, you're going to have over $500,000 pass estate tax free. that would not have gone estate tax-free. Now, if you have a client that donates $128,000 a year to the church or the synagogue or any charity, usually it's for a building campaign, I've pledged $128,000 a year. So I'm giving $128,000 a year. No, Floyd, if you've pledged $128,000 a year for 10 years, let's wrap a CLAT around that and put $1 million in the CLAT, and then we're sneaking $247,000 out of your estate for estate tax purposes. And then he says, well, what about the income tax aspect of it? Well, you're going to get your $1 million income tax savings early. So you're going to give $128,000 to charity over 10 years, but this is considered to be $1 million gift for income tax purposes because it's what we call a grantor CLAT. So your income tax savings in year one, $359,000. But here's the truth. You have to be truthful always. And that is, in year one, you're going to save $359,000 of income taxes. But in the next 9 years, you're going to pay the income tax on the CLAT income. So if you put in stock or you put in cash, and the cash is used to buy stock, and then the stock shoots out a dividend, and the dividend, as we see here, is based on 2%, and you're paying 37% of 2%, which is really high. In actuality, this would normally be qualified income, so you'd normally be paying only 20% federal on this, assuming no, well, let's go to 24% and include the Medicare tax. So yeah, you're going to save $231,000 when you're going to save $370,000 when you set it up, and then you're going to pay a little bit of tax over time. I'll put that back up to 37 to reflect the income tax savings. The present value of that income tax savings is really $308,000. So then what's the end result? Well, charity's going to get 84%. The remainder interest is going to get 16%. When you look at the income tax savings plus the remainder interest, your family's getting $551,000, the charity's getting $990,000. And Joey, this is all I think I'll show right now on the software. I'll go back to the slide unless you want to point anything out other than the brilliance of the presentation I just gave.
That was a brilliant presentation. It was fantastic. Thank you. I did want to mention we had a question about a charitable unit trust versus a charitable annuity trust. The main difference there is how you make those payments or determine the payments. So in an annuity trust, you have the set payments based on the beginning value and the funding assets. In the unit trust, you're going to do a fixed percentage of the trust value each year. So the payments are going to vary more in a unit trust, where with an annuity trust, like a CLAT, you're going to have a little more consistency with those payments, especially if you're doing the level payment option.
I think the CLUT is very rarely used. I've never seen one used. I've never even seen one illustrated. The good news about the CLUT is that if the values go up, the charity gets more. But we'll go ahead and add a couple of slides on CLUTs next time and actually run some numbers to prove out that it's not as good as the CLAT, in case it is better than the CLAT for some circumstances. We'll have to ask Jerry Hesh about that. That was a very good question. Whoever asked the question, if you know why we should do one, let us know. All right, so I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now. And it seems like I should do a polling question. So let me go ahead and find the first polling question. What page is that first polling question on?
I think it's like 15.
15?
something early, maybe 20.
Sorry, everybody. 22. All right, so we're going to go to the polling question. Polling question number 1. Are you ready, Wesley? A charitable lead annuity trust. By the way, the answer is all of the above E. A charitable lead annuity trust, A, receives a gift and makes annual payments to charity. B, receives what is left at the end of the CLAT term and is not subject to estate tax. C, if it's zeroed out, it uses no estate or gift tax exemption. D, a lifetime CLAT can provide significant income tax deduction. In other words, a CLAT formed during your lifetime, which would be a Grantor CLAT, can provide a significant income tax deduction. And E, all of the above. So Wesley, what percentage of people have answered? 82% of you have answered. When you get to 90%, then we're able to go to the next slide. Are we there? Okay, we're there. So what slide were we on here, Joey?
Next one.
Okay, back to Joey. For those of you who are still awake, this is Joey Kleiner. Go ahead.
All right, so the next phase of establishing a CLAT is making sure you understand who's involved. So there's a couple things your client would need to select. The first is a lead beneficiary, and it's always good to discuss backups, like I mentioned earlier, in case that lead goes out of business or loses their charitable status. Beneficiaries can be public or private charities, as well as donor advised funds. So if you just know you want to give back, but you're not sure where yet, a donors advised fund might be a good option to leave that choice to your beneficiaries or whoever's running that fund. And in addition to the lead beneficiary, when you set up the CLAT, you're going to want to pick the remainder beneficiary to take whatever is left in the account free of that estate tax. You also want to choose that term. So we talked a little bit, and you saw on the Estate View software how long that life expectancy is. And again, you want to make sure the grantor can survive that term so the CLAT doesn't get canceled and that deduction get recaptured. Finally, you want to choose the annuity payments through the structuring. We talked about level payments, increasing payments, or the shark fin payment. So that's something we'll get to in a few more slides here. And then finally, you want to choose the trustee, any trust protectors, people who are going to be managing the trust, making sure that those annual payments and final payments are distributed as the agreement sets. Alan, anything to add there?
Well, a few things. Number one, the client can be the trustee and receive a trustee fee. So, I mean, we could add a column, Joey, for trustee fee and show the client getting 0.5% a year trustee fee. So that's possible. Secondly, the remainder beneficiary of the CLAT could be the grantor. So let's say I make $100,000 a year pledge to my synagogue for 10 years, and I don't really care that much about my family. So I do a 10-year CLAT. I get a deduction for everything I put in the CLAT, and I get some of it back if the growth exceeds the 75-20 rate. So we could call that the selfish CLAT. And I have a few clients that would qualify for that. The charitable beneficiary can be a family foundation. So the payments could go to my daughter as trustee of the Gassman Benefit Trust, which would be a 501c3 trust. If it's a operating foundation, then I would get the full same tax deduction I would get if it was a public charity. And then my daughter can dole it out to charity over time, and I can retain the right to replace her as the trustee. If I die during the term, Joey, what happens with the remainder interest? Is part of it still out of my estate? I know I have to recapture my income tax deduction. which isn't a bad thing. I'd love to have an income tax deduction this year that I wouldn't have to recapture till I die in year 9. But what happens on the estate tax side? Do you know?
So I believe the remainder beneficiaries would not get that fund from the CLAT. That would go back to the grantor or the grantor's estate and then be taxable. So it would be included in their estate if you die during the term.
Okay. So I think that you're wrong and it's still out of your estate. So we'll look at Bloomberg B&A and ask Jerry Hesh. But I think it's still out of your estate, because if I set this up and the payments are going to charity, not me, and the remainder is going to my descendants, my spouse, not me, then there's no 2036A inclusion the way there is for a GRAT. So by reasoning, I'm very sure, only 100% sure, that it'll still be out of my estate for estate tax purposes. And by the way, before I forget, because we only have 31 more minutes, although to the attendees it'll seem much longer, what I'm told that you can do here by Jerry Hesh is you say, well, how do I know that it's going to earn 5.5%? I mean, how can I be assured of that? Well, I guess one thing you could do is buy a 10-year junk bond. But another thing you could do is you could put a lot of assets into a family LLC or partnership and do a partnership freeze where the senior family member gets common ownership interest and frozen ownership interest. So in other words, I put $10 million into a family partnership and I hire a financial engineer to tell me if 10% is common, what would the 90% preferred interest coupon rate need to be? Probably be about 8% right now. So then I could transfer the 90% coupon preferred interest to the CLAT, and then I would know that there would be a 9% rate of return. So let's do the second polling question. By the way, thanks again to Matt Polling. He's a real estate lawyer in Tampa who answers all my questions. And I think it's really cute that his name is Polling and I'm always doing polling questions. Okay, polling question number 2. And the answer, by the way, is E, all of the above, and I can't move from the polling question until 90% of you have clicked on anything. So the 12% of you who are asleep will hopefully wake up. Clients with $50 million could A, establish a CLAT to help a charitable cause and their family, B, pay the IRS a lot more money than if they had done the CLAT, C, buy vintage rock records, which is true, and then you could donate them to a charity if you wanted to. D, I don't recommend this, live off the grid to get more time with the tax code. That one we don't recommend. So E is all of the above, but D is not recommended. And Wesley, what percentage of this wily audience has answered? 88%. So 12% of this audience is asleep. All right, what page are we going back to, Joey?
There we go.
Yep.
Perfect. So when it comes time to fund the CLAT, you have a choice of quite a few assets you can put in there, including public and private stocks, bonds, LLC interest, even crypto if you wanted to, or life insurance. And that might be a good way to set up a testamentary CLAT, is have your death benefit funds the initial formation, and then you can take payments off that and have enough money in there to pay its own income tax. Some assets that might not fit are IRA funds or appreciated assets or money that you might need back. When you fund the CLAT, and Alan, correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe that is a taxable event for, you know, selling any appreciated assets that you're then going to move the funds into the account. So you want to be careful that, you know, you have a high basis asset that you're using to fund the CLAT is the recommended strategy there.
Okay, well, there is a problem when you put appreciated assets in a CLAT and then you use them to make the annual payment. According to the IRS, you'll trigger income tax under the tax court case of Keenan versus the commissioner. So in Keenan versus commissioner, I don't remember the exact facts, but basically the taxpayer owed someone like $100,000 and gave them something like $100,000 worth of stock that had cost the taxpayer $60,000. So the IRS said, aha, you have a $40,000 gain. So whether it's a grantor CLAT or a non-grantor CLAT, if I put appreciated stock into the CLAT, I don't pay tax, I get my full deduction when I put it in, but then if the CLAT uses that appreciated stock to make the annual payments, then you're going to trigger income tax. Now, what the insurance industry likes and what a lot of good advisors do, say, let's put cash in the CLAT, or let's put an LLC that owns non-appreciated assets into the CLAT, and then that LLC will buy a life insurance policy or will buy an annuity contract, hopefully a low cost one if there's such thing. And then you get the tax deduction going in and there's no income for the CLAT years. Now at the end of the CLAT, the happy event is the death of the person whose life's insured, or with the annuity, the unhappy event is emptying the annuity out. But those are, you know, important considerations. IRAs will not go in a CLAT. S corporation stock will go in a grantor CLAT, so during the grantor's lifetime, but then you get sprayed with the K1 income during your lifetime. But if you have an S corporation that owns real estate and has very little K1 income because of all the depreciation and interest write-offs, that might also be a fit. So now, Joey, do you want to take us to one of the things that I think is exciting, besides shark diving, which I did once at Walker's Cay in the Bahamas, and I have a video of it somewhere. What are these annual payment opportunities?
Well, sure, and I'm very jealous of that diving experience. Definitely going to pester you for that video at some point here. But the annual CLAT activity that happens is that your investments in the CLAT will hopefully continue to grow in value over the life of the CLAT. Any income in there, like we've mentioned, is taxable, either to the CLAT or to you, depending on if you're the person who set up the CLAT during your life, or if the CLAT is set up upon your death. Now, the annuity payments, like Alan mentioned and displayed on estate view, are three different ways you can look at the annuity payments, and I included some charts here to help demonstrate that. In the level payment, you can see the annuity amount on the left there is the same $129,000 each year. The increasing ones slowly ramp up. Now, the increasing 20% annually payments start at $53,000. That means you have a lot more money sitting in the trust, still invested, growing, and then at the end you can see the charity gets another $100,000 over 10 years. So it's very beneficial to spread those payments towards the later part of the trust, and then you get more to your charity, and there's also probably more in the account for your remainder beneficiaries. Taking that to the extreme, you can do a shark fin, where the annuity payments are very small in the years leading up to the final year, and then in that final year or final couple of years, you can have larger payments to still get that full amount of the deduction present value matching. So you get that deduction in the first year.
Okay, so let me go ahead and show some numbers. And this is where I'm back on the Estate View software. I went to estateview.link, and then I used my email address as test@test.com. Then I put in the code word test. Here I am. And we've got the 10-year CLAT that we already did. Well, actually now it's the 10-year CLAT that we did. Let me center it. There we go. All right. So 10-year CLAT, $9,000 gift, annual payments $128,000 a year. I'm going to go ahead and do another CLAT. So I hit duplicate. You see there the green button, Joey, duplicate?
Yep.
I'm going to click that. Now hold on, because when I click it, the computer may vibrate. Click duplicate. And now you see I have CLAT number 2. They're in consecutive order, by the way. So there's CLAT number 2. It's blue across the line. I guess it's because it's depressed. It's exactly the same as CLAT number 1, except I want to see how much can I put away if I go 20 years. So I'll click up to 20. And now I see that with 20 years, if I go with fixed annual payments, it's only $79,000 a year. And what's at the end is now going to be $807,000 instead of $509,000. So going 20 years versus 10 years is better tax-wise if the kids don't mind waiting. And you see here now the percentage to charity is 76%. The remainder is 24%, and that's based on present value. So it's better to go 20 years. And then I can look at the spreadsheet on that. And by the way, if I only want to see every other line, I can just click like that, and then I see every other line. If I only want to see every third line plus the final year, I can click like that just to see it. But now I want to do another one. So I'll click duplicate here. Now I'm on CLAT number 3. And with CLAT number 3, I don't want to go with level payments of $79,000 a year. I want the payments to start lower and increase by 20% a year. Now, the reason we feel perfectly comfortable doing 20% a year is that in the GRAT rules, Grant or Retain Annuity Trust rules, it's in the regulations, and a GRAT is almost exactly like a CLAT. That's why they rhyme. So, but I'll click on 20% here. So now you see that CLAT number 3, the payment method increasing 20% a year. The gift value continues to be about $10,000. The annual payments start at $11,000. They start quite a bit lower. And at the end, the descendants receive $1.2 million instead of $800,000. So don't do a level CLAT. And then my income tax savings, still $358. Percentage to my descendants, 1/3 now. So the next one, as you know, is I'll go and I'll do CLAT number 4. And CLAT number 4, I'm going to do a shark fin. So hold on, because that shark's coming across and it's going to be so cool. It'll scare my puppet. It'll scare your cat. There it is. Na, 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 na. Okay. So, and I'm doing a shark fin based upon payments of $50,000 a year until the end, and then the last payment of $1,024,000. Now I can move that payment down from $50,000 a year. I could move it down to whatever I decide to move it down to. But at $50,000 a year, now the illustrated end value for some reason is lower. We'll have to, I need to move the payment down lower. So let me find the payment term, shark fin. Okay, and then the initial percentage of value, I'll do a flat dollar amount, and we'll make the payments $1,000 a year. And now the end result is $1.6 million for the remainder interests instead of $1.2 million, 62% to charity, 38% to the remainder interest. So I'm definitely going to do a shark fin. Now let's go and do polling question number 3. Or actually, before I do that, Joey, any questions or comments on what I've just done?
I just want to reinforce there, the total charitable payments and end value is $1 million more than the increasing 20% one. So it's about 3 million with the increasing 20, and it's over 4 million with the shark fin one. So it just really stresses how leaving assets to grow in the trust for a longer period of time really impacts both your kids and the charity. Both groups end up better.
Well, that's true until you look at the present value. So I'm gonna get rid of, for a moment, I'm gonna get rid of the top of this illustration by clicking the eyeball here. So, and now I'm gonna show you all the lines. So, as you see, the charity's only getting $1,000 a year until the 20th year when it gets $2.5 million. Well, it's getting more, but it's having to wait 20 years. So from a present value standpoint, it's really not doing better. It's doing a little bit worse. And that's what you want, because you want the remainder interest to be as large as possible. So the remainder of the interest there is $1.6 million to the family. And then there you see the income tax savings and the income tax loss. And then just a little bit of mechanics. If I want to just show every other line, I can click there, and then I can hit full fit and just have bigger numbers. If I want to export this to an Excel spreadsheet, I click export to Excel, and take my word for it, it goes to the Excel spreadsheet. So now I want to do the next polling question, and then I want to show how discounts can affect a charitable lead annuity trust, and that's where the numbers get quite attractive. So I'm going now to page 63. By the way, we could easily do 2 hours on CLATs now that you think about it. Polling question number 3. The answer is E, all of the above, and I'll only have 88% of you answer by the time I finish this. A, charitable entities include A, organizations that qualify under Internal Revenue Code section 501c3. B, your neighbor's kid's lemonade stand. Well, that does not qualify. Okay. D, donor advised funds your uncle owns. Well, that qualifies. C, qualifies. D, any entity that files a 990. That's true. That's a charitable entity. E, all of the above. Well, not really, because your kid's neighbor lemonade stand doesn't qualify. So the right answer is A, C, D, or F. Got it? F. Invalid question. Wesley, how many people have answered? 86%. Showing you that 2% more are asleep now. All right, well, if you haven't answered that, you have been left behind. And now I'm going to go back to estate view, and I'm going to bring back in. You have 4 CLATs. We started off with a 10-year CLAT, then we did a 20-year CLAT level payments, then we did a 20-year CLAT increasing payments by 20% a year, then we did a 20-year CLAT shark fin. And by the way, let's look at our settings just to remind us of our settings. 75/20 rate is 5%. It's going up. So let me see, I'll duplicate here. And in 3 months, you'll have to use 5.4%. Does that help us or hurt us? That, using 5.4%, hurts us a little bit. So this means that your clients need to get this CLAT done in October before the 75/20 rate goes up. Otherwise, it's going to cost their descendants $206,000 under this scenario. So that can be CLAT number 5. CLAT number 6, I'll go back to the 5%. And CLAT number 6, well, what if we go, well, let's not go 25 years. What if we do one of those fancy partnership freezes and we know we'll be able to use 8%? Let's even say we could use 8.5% in a partnership freeze where we're giving the preferred interest that pays 8.5% to the CLAT. What does that do for us? Well, that 8% rate of return, let me find it here. Rate of return, it's not showing rate of return, so I click Alter Summary, and asset growth rate I want to show here, and I want to show value before discounts as well. So now you see an 8% rate of return, an 8.5% rate of return versus a 7.5% rate of return, and your descendants are getting even significantly more based on that difference, or they should be. Okay, so now I want to show a discount. So I'm going to do CLAT number 7, and CLAT number 7, I'm going to not put $1 million into the CLAT. I'm going to put $1 million into an LLC, or maybe $1,010,000 into an LLC, and then I'm going to give a preferred LLC interest to the CLAT, and I'm going to ask the appraiser, what would a willing buyer pay a willing seller for this preferred LLC interest? It's not transferable, it's private, it's supposed to pay 8.5%, but the assets could run out. What would a willing buyer pay for this entity, for this? And the appraiser may tell me that I could take a 15% discount. So now my value after discounts is $850,000, and what's left at the end for my descendants is $2.8 million now, because the payments are so much less in CLAT number 7, taking that little discount. So now you can see that the percentage to charity is only 44%, and the percentage to my descendants is 56%. Now, if I'm also saving this much in estate tax, and I'm in New York where the estate tax rate with the federal rate is much higher than that, then my descendants are actually pretty far ahead. Besides the fact that they're going to have millions of dollars to use in our charitable foundation, which may employ their descendants. So, Joey, anything to add to that? I just wanted to make sure that we covered, the 3 elements of the CLAT are: how long is it? The longer the better. Can you go shark fin or 20%? Don't go level. How do you get the rate of return as high as you possibly can? And then can you take a discount? Now, before I forget, I just have to show off for you here. This is only showing this to you to show off. I click general explanation, and I can click all 7 CLATs that we just did. And I can click PowerPoint presentation, and then I can click Joey CLAT, click submit, and now you see over here that the computer has prepared, show all downloads, the computer has prepared PowerPoints for each of these CLATs. So you open up the PowerPoint, you enable editing, and then here's one of the CLATs. It explains CLATs, and then it shows $1 million going into the CLAT, income tax deduction worth $990,000 because you have to wait a year to take it because of discounts. Remainder interest $509,000. There's your spreadsheet. So you get a separate PowerPoint for each CUPER. So I'll go back to slideshow. And then before summing this up or talking about something that we'll figure out at the last second here, we'll go to polling question number 4. And I apologize to those of you who wanted to leave at exactly 50 minutes once you got polling question number 4 into place. Everybody's going to go get shark sandwiches from McDonald's. Their fish fillet is, I heard it's mainly shark. I don't know if that's true or not. Polling question number 4. Shark fin payments mean A, funding assets have more time to grow in a trust. That's right. B, the charity gets a ton of money in a single year. That's right. C, your client wants to make illegal purchases of animal parts.
All right.
That's not right. D, oh, I get it. Shark fins, right. D, assets must be paid out during the shark week. That's cute. So E, any of the above. Oh, I get it. It's not all of the above. It's any of the above. Okay. And that was that the one that the prior one was that too? Any of the above or all?
No, the prior was all.
Okay. So anyway, Joey gets a B plus, maybe a B in polling question drafting. The correct answer is E or A or B. And Wesley, are we at 85%? 89%? The crowd goes wild. Well, not really, but it could. All right. So getting back to the estate view, Joey, what else do you think we should show? I know what we should show. We should get back to a married couple. And this married couple has a $3 million house and $30 million of investments. And they're willing to do a bypass trust. They're willing to do a CUPER. They don't want to do annual gifting. They don't want to deal with life insurance. They don't want to do an installment sale, but they would like to look at doing a CLAT. So based upon the scenarios I've given here, and by the way, there's all those PowerPoints finally come up. If they do no planning, then their estate tax is $2.3 million. But if they live 20 years with growth at about 4% growth after taxes and stuff, their estate tax is $20 million. If they do the bypass trust on the first death, the estate tax is $19 million. Whoopee. If they do the CUPER with their house, the estate tax, oh, I guess I didn't turn on CUPER. Let me turn on CUPER. Oh, I did turn on CUPER. Well, anyway, CUPER's not working at the moment because I probably did not give it any value. Anyway, will show if checked. Got to check that. What's that?
Right under it. Yep.
Yeah, one CUPER. All right, I ordered a CUPER. Now the estate tax is down to 17 million. So, but now I go to testamentary charity. So bottom left-hand side, I click on charity, and 100% to charity to the extent needed to zero out the estate tax. Click on testamentary charity, and instead of 57 million going to the beneficiaries, 17 million to estate tax, I click on that. Zero estate tax, 43 million to charity. Beneficiaries only get 31 million. Well, that's probably not going to be something the beneficiaries want to do. They may not want that much to go to charity. I can toggle down the charity, which toggles up what the beneficiaries get, but toggles up what the IRS gets. But what about a CLAT? So I change charity to CLAT. And when I change charity to CLAT, you see the bottom left-hand side goes into 3 colors. So it's kind of psychedelic. Like if you're really bored, you could just go back and forth and watch the psychedelic line. But anyway, now, and let's zero it out. So I will percentage of residue to CLAT 100%. So now there's 43 million going to the CLAT, and I'm going to show that the CLAT is going to go 20 years and land 50% of the assets to charity and 50% to the beneficiaries by present value. So no estate tax. The CLAT is getting 43 million, 21,898 is going to go to charity over the years, 21 million to the descendants. Now I'm at 52 million to the descendants, nothing in the estate tax. If they don't like that, I could just put less in the CLAT, more in the estate tax until they decide what they want to do. And then I want to share it. Joey, I want everybody to be able to see this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, by the way, I could generate client letter and it would give me all these illustrations. But what I'll do instead is share with client. So your top secret code word is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to generate URL. I'm going to copy to clipboard. Now I'm going to send an email to Joey and Wesley with the link that I just picked up. And they'll be able to, and you'll be able to open that link, and you will have this estate view setting all set up with this information. You'll be able to change anything but the people's names and their ages, and that you'll have that for 14 days. So I can share this with my clients and let my clients toggle up and down the numbers. And I'll also show my clients, here's how much estate tax you pay each year in red, based upon the year you die. Here's how much more can go to charity. So anyway, Joey, that one of the things I learned early on is one of the most important things about being a good speaker is to finish on time. So I've run 1 minute late, so I get like 6 points deducted out of 100 right there for a minute late. Then I lost another 15 points for poor use of humor, another 10 points of slave labor of a doll or a puppet. But do you have any parting words? And I think we should do a part 2 on CLATs, just to go through all these slides so that people can learn more about it.
Absolutely. I think that sounds great to me. I would give you an A for the presentation, especially for being our resident expert and helping make sure everything both I say and the program shows is correct. I think I can go ahead and make some more slides on the selfish CLAT we talked about earlier, and that would really help show some people, what benefits they can get from being charitable.
You're a real brown noser, aren't you? Includes the CPA Academy, 1 hour. You can go now. You don't have to stay. But as the puppet suggested, I want to show you, if you've been if you've been watching this, I just want to show you some new things that we've done with Estate View that it didn't do 2 weeks ago. The first thing is, if you get claustrophobia, as far as filling in the information, you can click these arrows here, and now the information input is big. So it's easier to fill it in at this size, of course. So that's one thing. The second thing is, if you're going to do annual gifting, you can click there. And then if you want discounted gifting, you can click there. And if you only want to use annual gifting, not discounted, you unclick it. So that's just a little bit of a refinement. The next thing is the exploding asset. So, you know, a lot of times a client will come to an estate tax planner and say, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is this company is doing really well. And I just got it appraised at 10 million, but I really think it's going to sell for 60 million. I just think it will. So you click here on add explosive asset in addition to the above. So he said he had a $30 million net worth, but 5 million is the company. So I'll move this down to 25 million. And then I'm going to move the explosive asset to 5 million. And I'm going to say that in 5 years, it's going to be worth 60 million, because that's what he told me. And the income tax hit on the sale in 5 years when it sells will let's say is going to be 15 million. So now these numbers are much bigger, and you see the explosive asset in orange on the screen. Joey, orange, you glad that we're doing that? All right, so then it also shows you that on this scenario, if you die within the 4 years, if I move the first death within the 4 years, then it would go to the credit shelter trust based upon its value growing over the 5 years ratably between 5 million and 60 million. But what if I go ahead and sell it now in the installment sale trust? So I'll click on installment sale. And now you see that installment sale trust, and you see significant growth in the installment sale trust when you click on transfer part of this in the installment sale. So I click on transfer part of the explosive asset to the installment sale. And how much? Well, 100% means that the client's going to have to pay the income tax on 100% of the sale. They may not want to do that. They may only want to transfer 40%. So they're 40% from the sale they use to pay the tax. But what does that cost them in estate tax? So that is a new development. Another new development, and Joey found this. We knew it was somewhere, but Joey found it. If I want to change that 250,000 that I just darkened to 2 million, I never again have to click 2,000,000. I click 2M and return, and it's 20 million. If I want to go 20 billion, I'm sorry, gotta blank this out. 20B, or if I want to go 20,000, 20, is it T?
Okay.
20K. 20K. So that is going to save a lot of nanoseconds of time. Joey, anything else you can think of? If you go File, Save Screenshot, you can obviously save the screen. But if you click File, Save As, give it a name, Jones Part 1, click Save, and now on my computer, and I can move this to the client's directory in the computer or email it, and these are the settings. So when I come back in 2 weeks and want to change things or run it again, I don't have to input my information again. We don't have too much humor yet, but that will be coming. Calculators, I've got a new calculator. We've got a very nice amortization calculator coming, and we've got life estate remainder interest calculator coming. But right now, the life estate calculator just allows me to say how many lives, 1 or 2. What are their ages? 74 and 70. Mortality table, the most recent one. What is the life expectancy of one person? 12.7 years. Person one, 12.7 years. Person two, 15.4 years. Joint and survivor life expectancy, 18.4. So these are, by the way, pessimistic numbers because it includes smokers in the United States population, and it includes all socioeconomic classes. But our clients, being the upper class, tend to live another couple years, sometimes 2 to 3 years on average. They live longer than the normal population because they get better health care, they're better educated, sadly enough. So that's new in the calculators. The other thing else new in the calculators is if you want to make PowerPoint slides, and I'll go back to the CLAT. Where did the CLAT go? Okay, I can go there, and then I can go to the CLAT. So if I want to make PowerPoint slides, I just click the camera. When I click the camera, my computer now has that picture. So that can easily be made into a slide. I can click a camera for this, I can click a camera for that, or I can go to File, Save Screen, and click a camera for the entire screen. I can also get a general explanation, a planner's checklist, and eventually we're going to have sample provisions. Click Submit, and they just all go up here to the right to the browser. Also, I can go ahead and save my settings for a charitable trust. As I showed you, I can decide how many columns I want to have across the top. It's getting crowded, isn't it? So in fact, we'll have to talk to Kevin about making it a little bit less crowded. But what you'll do is if you go to alter summary columns, you can pick the columns you want. If I'm doing a testamentary CLAT, I don't need to have income tax savings. I can get rid of those. And maybe I don't really care about the life expectancy or the age because I'm doing a term CLAT. I don't really care what year of death is because I probably won't be invited to the funeral. And I don't really care what the reportable gift amount is if it's going to be 0. So then I close that, and now I have fewer items. And then as I showed you, if you click on the eyeball, this could hurt, hold on. You click on the eyeball and the top columns disappear, so you have more room for your spreadsheet. You click on Excel to export to Excel, and now the spreadsheet is right there. You can export the spreadsheet. So those are the main changes that we've had in the last 2 weeks for Estate View. We welcome your question. Oh, the other changes, when you first book into Estate View now, you're going to have a nice little what do you is this what you call a splash pad?
Dashboard.
This is a dashboard. Yep. So now single client, married client. I was just showing you the married client. A sample plan, that's just the letter that normally spits out. I hope next week I'll be showing the savings forecaster, which shows you how much do I need to save in order to retire in a particular year based upon my circumstances and assumptions. And then right now, if you click on help, it plays the Beatles video help from 1965, a BBC recording, and then log out, which will probably be your favorite button. There was something else that I wanted to show on married couple, if I can remember what it is. I guess I can't remember what it is. There was something else I wanted to mention. Can't remember what it is. It can get a little bit confusing as to, well, Bob and Mary, how much do you save a year from income coming in? Because I can show your 30 million of investments, but I don't know, are you spending money? Do you have income from other sources? So we have settings for those things, but then it gets confusing. So you click on explained here, And this will explain that for the first 10 years, you've set it so you're saving $20,000 a year. After the 10th year, you're saving $100 a year. But after the first person dies, it changes. So this is an explanation. That's what the set they explained is. If you want to see the historical 75/20 rates, we have those, but also you'll be able to look up the 75/20 rates, which are there. And let's just look real quick. 75/20 rate, 5.4%. It was 5%. So get that CLAT done by next month, because you can only go back 2 months. We also need to remember to capitalize the words Treasury regulation. And up here on the right, I asked Kevin today to show which techniques use this month's 75/20 versus the techniques that can use the lowest of the 3 months. But what I wanted to cover, go back there, the final thing I'll cover now that I remember what it was, thank you for letting me stall for time, is the life insurance estimator. You may not have seen this yet. So am I male or female? I'm male. What is my age? I happen to be 64. And what would a 20-year term policy cost for me? $14,374 a year. So this will enable you to very quickly say to a client, well, Floyd, you're 50 years old, standard. To buy a term policy on you, 20-year, figure $3,000 a year. If you want to do a 25-year term, if a carrier offers 25, $4,000 a year. You want to go to 30-year term, $52.66 a year. Or do you want to have a standard universal guaranteed guaranteed universal life policy? We'll show that too. We're not trying to sell insurance, and we're not telling you our numbers are accurate, but it gives the estate planner a quick number that you can give a client saying, well, Floyd, I think you should have $5 million of death benefit, because if you die, then 4% of that will give Mary about $200,000 a year for life based upon conventional standards, and $5 million of life insurance if you want to get a 30-year term, because you should be able to save enough for the 30 years. You don't need life insurance after that. It's going to be $5,200 per year. So it's going to cost you X dollars. So these numbers, by the way, right now may not be accurate. They will be accurate by the time we release on January 1st. Joey, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, thank you guys for attending and watching and exploring Estate View with us. We are beta testing right now. So like Alan mentioned a couple times, go to estateview.link, just like you go to google.com, but instead type estateview.link. When you log in, your username is test, T-E-S-T, at test.com, and the password is test, all lowercase letters. If you have any feedback, feel free to email me at joey@gassmanpa.com is my email. Just include Estate View in the session, in the subject line there, and you'll be able to reach me, and I can help you work out any issues you have with the Estate View software, as well as collect feedback or any suggestions you might have about how to make it the best product we can get it before that January release date. So definitely get in there and try it out, and let me know your thoughts. I'm very interested to hear those.
The Sid Cass annual United Jewish Appeal conference in New York will be cyber this year, and it's next week or the week after. So I want to just end by again thanking Sid Cass for all he's done for our profession, thanking Sid's family for sharing with us all of the years, and sympathizing for his grieving family. You've lost somebody who is completely irreplaceable. There just will never be another Sid Cass, but there will always be thousands of estate planners and tax planners who learned how to learn and learned how to teach from Sid Cass. So have a great rest of your weekend, and thanks again for listening and asking great questions, many of which we actually were smart enough to answer. Thank you.